If you're into comics and if you consider yourself a comic book artist, then I'm sure that at some point in time you've drawn at least once any of the vast characters that have been created by Marvel or DC. I'm also sure that at some point in time you've also thought about doing sequential artwork, and I'm sure you even went as far as thinking that one day I might work for Marvel or DC itself. Now, it's not a crazy idea at all. I remember as a kid being in class and hanging out with my classmates, and whenever we would get bored, we would sit down and draw these characters. We would draw Spider-Man, Batman, Iron Man, and it's just the common thing to do. We would talk about how cool it would be to one day work for Marvel or DC. It's not a crazy idea. While those sentiments were fine back in the day, it was cool to think about working for the big two. If you fast forward to today's comic scene, you'll see that things are a lot different now. Marvel and DC are not what they used to be, and it's in my personal opinion that you would be a fool to work for either of them. In this video, I'll share with you my top 3 reasons for why you should not work for the big two. I repeat, you should not work for the big two. The first reason is very simple. Marvel and DC are not going to make you rich working as a comic book artist. There's no money in it working for the big two. With the massive success that these companies have had with all of these blockbuster movies that they have put out in the last 20 years, Marvel and DC have become members of corporate America, and in turn, they have also adapted their mentality. Now, their mentality is not wrong, mind you. There's nothing wrong with having the corporate mentality, but we do have to understand that it will influence Marvel and DC's decision about their content and about any decisions that the company makes moving forward. These companies now are much more driven by the need for money, way more than the love of the art. So now we all need money, but Marvel and DC are not going to go out of their way to give you that money. No, they're not going to do that. What they're going to do is aim to cut expenses wherever it's possible and pay their artists the minimum in order to get the maximum profit. It's business after all. No, it is perfectly understandable. It's business. We understand it. It makes perfect sense. Now, while they make endless amounts of money in movies, Marvel and DC have seen very little change in their page rates in the last 20 years. Now, for all that money that they make in these movies, very little of it or none of it goes to artists. They don't spend any of that money on artists. No, and now, why do I mention this? I mention this because when you look at the current rates that Marvel and DC are paying their artists, and you compare that to the current rates that indie artists are getting, there's not much of a difference, and especially not a difference that would merit or that would justify a pursuit in the pro scene. Why would you go through all that trouble of working for the big two for those page rates when you can just do the same amount of work working independently and just keeping that money for yourself? Reason number 2 is harsh, but it's true. Marvel and DC don't care about you at all. They don't give 2 craps about you being the artist, and that's evident if you look back at the long history at both comic book companies. Now, any comic book fan would know what I'm talking about when I mention prominent creators, like Steve Ditko, the co-creator of Spider-Man, or Bill Finger, the co-creator of Batman. These artists have contributed more than a substantial part of the mythos for each of these characters, but when it came time to giving them their credit for their creations and their input and their contributions, they were both given the short end of the stick. They were both treated badly, and they had to fight hard to receive the acknowledgement that they deserve for having created some of the most iconic comic book characters ever. We can also see this through the major shifts that have happened along the history of the comic book industry. If we go back to the early 1990s, we saw an exodus of talents like Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, and Mark Silvestri, among many others, as they left the mainstream to create Image Comics. And they did so in part because of the mistreatment that they got from these respective companies. They saw that these companies were not giving the artists their fair share of the spotlight and recognition, and they decided to leave. In today's scene, we continue to see the same thing with other prominent creators such as Ethan Van Sciver, John Malin, Shane Davis, Emerald Lopresti, Art T. Bear, Graham Nolan, and many others as they leave the industry and in some cases get kicked out of the industry to pursue their passion projects independently. They do this because they have an understanding that the big two don't care about you and that it's much better to work independently where you can get the recognition and acknowledgement that you deserve as an artist that contributes to the legacy of these comic book characters. And the final reason that I believe that you should not work for the big two is very simple and quite funny. You shouldn't work for them because they don't want you. They're not taking any submissions from anyone. Marvel right now is not accepting anything. They don't want you to call them. They'll call you, and we all know what that means. It means that they won't hire you. Let's take a look at this. I went to the website for Marvel, and I clicked on frequently asked questions, and I kept clicking, and I came across their guidelines for submission requests. And if you can see here, it says very clearly that they are not taking any submission requests, and what they're going to do is just they'll find you. They want you to continue working, creating, become a success, and then they will find you and contact you, and then they will hire you to work for them, and then draw their comics. Now, if Marvel is going to hire you only after you made a name for yourself, then why bother working for them? If the condition is that you have to become successful to warrant Marvel's interest, then continue with your success and forget about Marvel and DC. Think about it. You put in all that hard work of drawing, getting your name out there, building a following, getting a fan base, and then convincing those followers and convincing your fan base, through your art, to buy your products, whether it's a comic book or a t-shirt, and then give all of that hard work up just so you can draw Squirrel Girl for Marvel. I just think it's an idiotic idea. To me, it sounds absurd that you would have to do that in order to work for Marvel. I think you should continue with your hard work and with your success and reap the rewards for what you sow for yourself. In today's scene, and thanks to the internet, everyone has the opportunity for success. Anyone can make the next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or the next Spawn, or the next Cyberfrog. So I encourage you to go out there, work on your idea, bring it to life, and tell everyone about it. It may be a hit. It may be the next big hit. Then again, it may not be a hit. If it isn't a hit, don't feel bad. At least you tried, and you can be happy with that. So that's it. Those have been my 3 reasons for why you should not work for Marvel and why you should focus on your own stuff. If you're an artist, especially if you're an artist, this applies to you. So if you have any ideas or any intentions of making your own stuff, making your own IP, do it. Yes, do not work to play second fiddle for Marvel and DC. You be your own person, do your own thing, and we will be here to support you. So that's it. My name is Elliot Rodriguez. I am an independent comic book artist, and I'm currently working on my own comic, which is called Ominous. If you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and through the channel and through my social media, you'll be able to keep up to date on everything that I'm doing and all of the advances that I'm making with the comic. So please be sure to follow me on my social media, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. I put out videos every week on Thursdays at noon. Sometimes Fridays at noon because I forget sometimes. My bad. Very sorry. So please, I will leave you with the trailer, the official trailer for my comic, Ominous Avenging Death. Enjoy.